Are you ready to get woke?
Hello, beautiful humans. Thanks for being on the Woke YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about something today that, frankly, I could do on a podcast. I mean, it's going to come up anyway, but I just want to kind of take it head on because sometimes I get thoughts in my head. I'm like, I just want to say this one thing and put it out there. So, and it's bonus content, and it gets people to subscribe on YouTube rather than just listening on iTunes or all those other places. So today I want to talk about integrating deep spiritual awakenings, specifically ego death. Yes. When I look at myself from 5 years ago, I kind of go, what a dick. Don't get me wrong. I like that guy. He had a lot of good things going for him. Funny guy, big heart, helped a lot of people. I like him. But he was kind of a dick. Not so much even that. He was just unaware. He wasn't that conscious of other people. And he had a big ego, and a lot of the things, some of the things he was doing, they were really about him feeling good about himself and proving how great he is and impressing people and all that kind of shit. And it's really coming from the ego. So that's how I would describe myself, my past self. Big heart, but big ego. Okay, fair enough. So in the last few years, specifically, I would say I had my first awakening about 10 years ago. And it's a video called My Experience with Reincarnation on my main channel, and that's there for anybody who wants to watch that. But then about 5 years ago, around 2015, I really decided, okay, I really have to wake up. I know this is a dream and it's not real. I found out about enlightenment, and I really wanted to wake the fuck up. I wanted to know what enlightenment was. How do I get to a state of total joy and bliss and peace? What is the absolute truth of reality? And nothing else really mattered to me, and that's what the last 5 years has been. And that's why I started the podcast and all these, all this kind of stuff. So what's been happening over the last few years, specifically about a year and a half, maybe say the last 2 years, I've had 3 really trippy experiences where, well, they're not trippy, they're just realization of what is. But it'll sound a little trippy when I describe it to people who haven't had the experience, I'm guessing, because it's a bit of a weird one. But I'm going to explain it anyway, because actually this is what awakening really is. And now a message from your sponsor, me! There's no sponsor, it's just this guy. This May 31st, I am running Comedy Therapy. Why should you care? Because this course will allow you to make fun of yourself, to write jokes about your life, your trauma, all the crap you've been through. I had a tough childhood, man. It was really fucked up. Okay, I was the only kid I ever met that was actively trying to get kidnapped. And it's hilarious. You're going to feel so much lighter. You're going to feel like you've been through an intense healing experience. And after this course, you'll be able to connect way deeper and more authentically with other people. It'll be good for your personal life, your friendships, your dating, even your business life. Communication skills and authenticity are the greatest and most powerful currency these days. So please, if that sounds like it might be interesting, click the link below, and maybe I'll see you on the inside. All awakening is remembering the absolute truth of reality, which is you're not a person, you're not the mind, you're infinite consciousness, bliss, awareness, having a temporary experience as a person. Okay. Now I can say that, and you can go, yeah, "That's great. Thanks, bro. That's real nice of you. I'll write that down. Thank you." Did you get that from an Osho book or like some kind of seminar? Was it in the Bible? Where'd you get that? But the experience has been just deepening of the same thing. As soon as the mind shuts up and there's literally no thinking, you are able to experience the truth of what is, which is just boundless peace and joy and bliss. That is actually the natural state of all beings. I don't know, maybe I'm being a little cocky here saying all beings, because I currently don't have access to all beings. But let's say humans. Let's just stick with humans. Happiness is your natural state. It's the mind that is coming up with all of these reasons why you can't be happy, taking you away from the present moment, the bliss of the present moment, because you can only experience bliss in the right here, right now. As soon as you start going into the past about all the things you could have done differently or things you messed up or whatever, or you start projecting into how great the future will be, you're not in the here, right now, so you can't experience the bliss of God because you're not here. You're somewhere else. So So I've had more and more of these experiences. The first one was maybe 40 minutes. The next one was really big one, and it lasted very profoundly for maybe like super peak state for like a day or two. Then maybe a week-ish, maybe 6 days of like really strong, and then slowly, going back to sort of normal. And then I had another one where it literally died, like Sasha went through death and died and woke up without the ego at all, and that lasted for quite some time as well. Quite some time. But again, peak state, maybe 12 hours, and then a couple of weeks of just like way up there, everything is me, total love, no mind, no thinking, and then slowly you end up going back into some level of what it was like before, but not really. So I want to talk about how do these things happen? Well, I think all these experiences happen by the grace of God, to be honest. There's no way you can force it. I know there's some certain substances you can take. But when it comes to really waking up, it really is when you're ready for it and you have that intention. The source, all of it, consciousness, the rest of yourself says, okay, now you're ready for awakening. You can prepare the soil, as it were, and get yourself ready for it. But ultimately, it's up to creation itself when you're ready to pop. So this video I want to talk about integration specifically. It's really intense when you die, and again, it's only the ego that dies. There's no real death as possible. When a physical body dies, you simply you pop out and you move on to your whatever you need to do. Whether you need to take on another body, you want to be just as the bliss of all that is. Other experiences, who knows? I'm not aware of everything, but I know you continue. I know that there's no death, there's no end to your consciousness. Put it that way. You will always be conscious, right? You may shift forms, but you'll always exist. So when I went through the death, it's really, really intense, especially because death, you really think it's real when it's happening. It's so intense. At least for me, it was really, really intense, and I was completely convinced, like, oh, okay, I've realized the ultimate, that I'm everything, and shit, now I'm dying. That doesn't make any sense, but okay. I knew at that point that there's something to be afraid of because I've had other experiences. So I was just like, okay, fine, I'm going to die here. And there's really no words to explain. When you give in and you basically you croak, and then you wake up and you're still there, but without the ego, without all the constructs that you thought were you, they're all gone. And I am, is actually, you identify as everything in existence, and you happen to be in the body, but you're still connected to everything, and it's all you, it's all yourself. That's a really big one. It's a really big one. And if you've not had anything like this, and there's lots of levels of this happening, I just want to say, right, like that you can have that happen for a moment, for half an hour, a day. If it happens permanently, I believe that person, we could say, would be permanently enlightened. That's it. When there is absolutely no person left, no mind left, you're cooked. Maybe that's gonna happen to me one day, permanently. I don't know. But I can tell you, in the peak state of that, you can't do anything. You can barely talk. Like, you're just so at one and in a state of bliss. It's difficult to function, and I wouldn't be able to function. And that was actually one of the little thoughts that came up, from somewhere, because there was no personality at that time. Going, oh, I'm not going to be able to do anything anymore. That's it. I'm done. There's no global comedy tour. I'm not going to be able to fly anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't go through security in that state. It's just, there's not going to happen. So you can have all these, there's various degrees of these types of awakenings. But this one was the last one was like super, super, super intense, where I actually was like, oh, I'm really dying here. Okay. And just a tip, if you are someone who, you're starting to have these, or you're moving towards awakening, you want to know the truth, warning, for you to experience the ultimate truth, you are going to have to die. Sorry. And my only tip would be, don't fight it. Yeah, and I'm speaking from experience. if you fight it, it hurts a lot more, and it's really, really scary because it's only your ego that's terrified of death because it's the only thing that can die, and it is absolutely terrified because your ego can die and it can cease to exist, and it feels very, very terrifying when you're going through that. And just trust that you are not that. Trust that you are connected to all that is, that you are more than just the body and the mind, and that it's okay to die. You have to accept the death. If you don't accept it, it gets real nasty, and it's very uncomfortable, terrifying, in fact. So just die. It's exactly what my teacher told me when I looked at him, and I said, I'm dying. He just looked at me with love in his eyes, and he said, it's okay. And then that was the end of Sasha. So that's just a tip. And so after you go through that, and after, if you do have an experience of just being all it is, existence itself, eventually you will at some point leave that state of absolute bliss, but the knowledge stays with you. When you really know that you're all that and you're not this, you can never forget that, right? You never forget it. But you will not stay, as far as I understand, for me and for my research, most beings that have these type of profound awakenings of truth realization, they don't stay in a state of absolute bliss forever. It's easier, like, at least I can definitely speak for myself, it's easier for me to get to that state. Like if I sit and I find a really nice piece of nature, I do certain breathing exercises, I pray, I talk to God, certain things I can do, I can get closer to that state, absolutely. Much easier than before. The mind is much quieter than before. It's not the same as it was. I have way less fear or worry about things. I trust a lot more in the plan and all that is. There's really not that much anxiety over the future. So things are very, very different, but still the mind eventually, to some degree, comes back and starts going, oh yeah, well, you still have a business. You still have to make some money, or you have to fire these people. Hey, you still have to eat. You still have to sleep somewhere. The realities of planet Earth. You sprained your ankle. Well, you might have to go to the doctor because you're limping. You know what I mean? Or you have a whatever. There's still things, because we're in a body. There's still things that we have to deal with because we're in a certain system. And even though this is an illusion, we're still in it for a while. And so there's a financial system. There's a health system. There's things that you have to deal with on some level, right? And it's difficult not to be kind of pulled out of that state of grace, because here you are and you're still in the body. And I can also say that I understand very much how a lot of beings that have these type of awakenings, they often go into nature and they go for solitude and isolate themselves from people for long periods of time. I didn't do that. Partly I wish I had done that, because my fall from that, I'm kind of excited, especially when I have these experiences. I'm like, hey, I'm going to help more people, and I want to wake people up and help, And so I threw myself out there, and I went and I was with a lot of people and in big cities and all this kind of stuff. And again, it's very, very difficult, and you're more sensitive to people's energies. So for me, it was quite a big fall from grace. It was very difficult for me. So I kind of went from this total peak ecstasy state to just like this drop off. So I would encourage any seekers out there, to give yourself that space, man. Like if you have a really big one, do what you got to do. Find somebody who's got some land somewhere. Even if you're camping out, whatever. But just take some time for you. Be out there alone. Very important. And now I'm finding, I get that time for me whenever I can. So the integration is really something. It's such a drop. It really is. From being like the all that is to like just great, you're just another asshole again. Go on with your life. It's a hell of a thing, And I'm still integrating. I'm still just doing the best that I can. Things are very different, but here you are, still in the body, still a person. Seemingly, even though you're not. So it's a bit of a dichotomy. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's like, I know I'm not this guy, and yet it really seems like it. And I'm controlling this guy, and I can say things, and I can poop, and I can run around, and everybody really believes that I'm this person, but I'm really not this person. I never was this person, and that's what waking up is. It's like realizing you were never the person. You've been playing this character for your whole life, and it's not really who you are. And then even after you realize that, you still get to be the person, even though it's not real. It's a bit of a trip. So yeah, guys, take some time for yourself if that happens, and just be just be aware that this is a really intense thing that you're seeking. And if you really want the truth is that you're not real, and that you were going to have to die to experience that truth. Yeah, there's really no way around it. Like, the death of the ego is the only way to get to the absolute truth, because your very existence, the being that's listening to these words right now, which is your ego, that's what's in the way of you waking up. Yeah. But actually, more accurately, would say you're already fully awake, but the being that's fully awake isn't the filter that's listening to these words. See, it's the ego that's just in the way, and it has to go. Anywho, so integration. I wish I had more tips on integration. So this is almost more like a warning video for anybody who's really on the path. Like, just have a place where you can go and chill the fuck out after something big happens. And yeah, I find just there's a really big call also just to any activities that like you can do on your own. You know, just like reading books, going for walks, going by the river, and doing qigong, doing yoga, anything like that. There's a really huge call for that stuff, and that's the stuff I really enjoy doing and want to do, more so than hanging out with people. Even though I love people, after this kind of stuff happens, you really want to take it easy. So yeah, that's it. I think that's what I really wanted to rant about, and I think that's it really. Thanks everybody, and if you like the longer rants about such topics, let me know what you want me to talk about in the comments, and I'll watch them, and maybe I'll make some more videos. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye bye.